How to grow your enterprise through inspiring leadership. Post-heroic leadership is all about the shift from the traditional command and control model to a more inclusive, collaborative, and transformative style. It's about empowering, engaging, and enabling others, fostering a culture of shared responsibility. To unpack this intriguing concept, we have two speakers who exemplify the spirit of post-heroic leadership in their work. Firstly, we have Dr. Suchin Bajaj, the founder-director of Ujala Cygnus Hospitals. With his innovative approach to healthcare, Dr. Bajaj has redefined what it means to be a leader in the medical industry. He's not just a healthcare provider, but a true change maker transforming lives one patient at a time. Our next speaker, Mr. Gaurav Khemani, is the managing director of Rollick Ice Cream, one of India's leading ice cream brands. He has steered Rollick with a clear vision, determination, and a leadership style that puts people and innovation at the heart of everything the company does. And guiding our conversation will be our esteemed moderator, Mr. Abhishek Modi, the managing partner at Shiva Engineering Works. With his extensive experience and wisdom, Mr. Modi is a well-positioned person to steer this enlightening conversation on leadership. As we delve into this session, we look forward to rich, enlightening discussions that will challenge our notions of leadership and inspire us to be better leaders in our own ventures. So without further ado, let's dive into our third session at TiEcon Kolkata 2023, Post-Heroic Leadership, How to Grow Your Enterprise Through Inspiring Leadership. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Tamika. I'm really happy to be doing this because there's a common thread that binds the three of us sitting here. We've all been part of Stanford University's Sea Transformation Program, and post-heroic leadership is one concept that we learned during our engagement there. We've all heard various descriptions to define a leader: innovative, supportive, inspiring, passionate, dynamic, empathetic. These are commonly used terms. Depending on a leader's personality, post-heroic, a bit uncommon. We were first introduced to it at Stanford by our distinguished Professor Jesper Sørensen. It is a rather uncommon description, and many here, I believe, may not be familiar with what it means. Honestly, there's no single definition explaining it. It's a constantly evolving experience in the life of an entrepreneur or anybody working at senior management in an organization, and it's governed by certain guiding principles. One of my favorites from these is growing and developing people, and I strongly believe that you need well-developed people to transform organizations. I have seen this very closely in my constantly evolving journey from heroic to post-heroic, and I still have a long way to go, and I would like to now invite Suchin and Gaurav to share their experiences. I met Suchin for the first time in 2019 in my first month at the Stanford program. He spends most of his time on social impact projects. He's constantly trotting the globe. He's been seen at various think tanks, giving his views on how to transform, bring change in the medical industry. He's totally abreast of what is happening in the medical industry. He's available 24/7 as a friend, philosopher, guide, and to anybody who needs him for any community experience, community help. And amidst all of this, my friends, he's grown his hospital chain from 9 to 19 hospitals in just a matter of 3 to 4 years. So, Suchin, over to you. Tell us, what does post-heroic leadership mean? And how has it helped you navigate through so many roles and yet grow your business phenomenally?
Thank you very much for the kind words, my dear friend. And first of all, I'd like to thank TiEcon Kolkata for having me here and allowing me to share my experiences and learnings and failures, more importantly. I think I was in a post-heroic mode from the very beginning of when I started, and the circumstances of me starting would make you understand why. Before I even heard the word post-heroic when we were at Stanford, I dropped out of my DM program, which is the super specialty program that I was doing in gastroenterology, to go back to Bharat as Aniket and Vinay were talking about from Delhi. I was working at one of the biggest hospitals in Delhi. But most of my family and friends were in the small towns, and I would keep hearing phone calls about how somebody was serious and had a head injury or a heart attack, and how they were bringing him to Delhi, and if I could help them in any way. So, on the one hand, of course, it felt very nice that I was now in a position to do that. But on the other, it obviously was very painful that why were these people traveling hundreds of kilometers, 6, 7 hours in a hired jeep to come to Delhi, and many of them would not make it and would turn back because the patient died on the way. So I dropped out to start this. So two circumstances were very clear. I had no management training and I was entering into a business. I had no business background. I was studying to be a doctor, and here I was now trying to manage a business. And I dropped out of my super specialty course. So I was an MD, but I was trying to look to hire super specialists to go and work in these small towns. So that forced me to hire better people than me all around. Not just in the business side of the things, but in the medical side of the things as well. I was always surrounded by people who were better than me, more qualified than me, had better hard skills than me. And I was only trying to tell them why were we doing this. They already knew what to do, how to do it. I was just trying to tell them why it was important to do this in the small town and not in Delhi. And see, first, in the initial few days, I had to be on the ground each and every time. I remember the days, WhatsApp was also not very common. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the doctor would not be available, the regular doctor. They would call me. I would travel down 30, 40 kilometers to go and see an ECG, which then turned out to be normal because the resident doctor could not understand what was the cause of the chest pain. So you had to be on the ground, obviously, initially. It's only in the recent years that Abhishek sees me at all these events. But it depends on the maturity of the organization, right? My favorite story about this is the difference between Ramayana and Mahabharata, right? The heroes of both these stories is one. It's Vishnu. Vishnu is fighting the war in Ramayana as well in the form of Ram, and in Mahabharata as well, which happened 5,000 years later in the form of Krishna. In Ramayana, the organization is, since it's 5,000 years earlier, it's a very nascent organization. Vishnu has only monkeys to fight with him, right? So he's forced to pick up his bow and arrow. He has to be at the forefront of the fight. He's walking down, he's killing everyone. But when the organization grows and you hire better people, you have Arjun and Yudhishthir, everyone working with you, you can't really tell them how to fight, right? He is a much better archer than you. So Krishna has only one job. At the beginning, he gives a 15-minute speech on why we should do this. Right? This is why we are doing this. And so, but there's a word of caution in this post-heroic leadership, right? You cannot, because since most of you are entrepreneurs here, so don't take it too overboard. You cannot allow the people working with you and your employees to understand that you are worse than them, right? Then there's no respect. So you have to be a leader. Krishna, even though he was a much worse archer than Arjun, but he commanded respect because of his other qualities, right? And he said, I can do it. I've already killed them. It's only now you just have to do the formalities, right? But you have to do them because this is the reason why. So this is what I tell everyone in my company. I can do it. I know how to do it. But then you must agree that you are all monkeys. You are not Arjun. If you're Arjun, you do it and I will watch. But if you're monkeys, I will come and do it. And they have to realize that I'm capable of doing it. It's not my lack of capability, it's my lack of time and bandwidth to go and do those menial tasks which I feel that we should do as per our responsibility. Because see, employees are young, they don't really understand what post-heroic means. So if they feel that this leader is incapable, he is not able to do it, then they will feel, no, we should not be led by him. So you have to assert your capabilities, you have to show your competence, but at the same time, tell them that it's not very necessary for me to do it. If you do it, you can also grow up. In a few years, you can also be here sitting beside me, and then we can ask other people to do it. So it's a complicated thing, but yeah, it takes some time to get used to it.
But I mean, you really, I mean, we are talking about something like, you don't need to be the smartest person in the organization, but you need to create that authority around you that people perceive you in such a manner. There must have been certain insecurities that you were dealing with during this process, or, getting smarter people than you. So how did you handle your emotions, your thoughts, and yourselves when you were going through that process? Tell us a little about that, please.
So I think the secret to being a successful post-heroic leader is to completely abandon the ego inside you. You should be very confident that praising the other people around you will be helpful to you in the long run and not harmful. See, I'm a doctor, so many patients look up to me all the time saying that, I want to consult only you. I've been consulting you for the last 10 years, I want to come and see you, and I have practically very little time to do that. So the smarter choice, of course, for me is to praise another doctor in the hospital saying he's so much better than me, he is more qualified than me, why don't you go and see him? But if my ego comes in between and I say, no, I am the senior person, this is my patient. So looking at the organization's well-being rather than my own personal well-being is the secret. And since you are the founder, it becomes easier for you. Because see, I am the founder of the company, so I feel that the company's interests and my interests are almost the same. But it will become much more difficult if the person is not the founder, he's in between jobs, or he's just coming and joining as a CXO and then is looking to go to another company after 3 years. Then it's a much more difficult process for him or her. But for me, it's personally not been very difficult, but I would encourage each and every person to try out this process, abandon your ego completely and be very secure in yourself that actually I am very needed here. If I praise somebody, or if I empower somebody, or if I trust somebody to do something bigger than what I do, it won't be a negative effect on my own personal growth.
So that was a very interesting perspective Suchin gave us from the service industry, where often you want to go meet the person who you have been dealing with, and you'll go often ask for him. So that's I mean, he gave us a wonderful way of actually praising the other person, and that's one way you are able to transfer the person's faith into someone else without being insecure about what you do. So Gaurav's from manufacturing. We've heard a bit on service. Gaurav and I have known each other for about 2 years. He makes ice cream, and as you can see, he still keeps his weight steady. A fitness freak, a father of a 14-month-old daughter, Gaurav has grown Rollick to a 100 crore company this year. He's implemented some path-breaking solutions around cost saving, because energy cost is a very high part of the ice cream industry, of any food processing industry, and he's done some wonderful work in cost saving. And he's also increased the brand visibility of Rollick. You see it everywhere in Kolkata. So Gaurav, more from a manufacturing industry perspective, share with us what heroic leadership, post-heroic leadership means to you.
Abhishek, thank you for the warm introduction, and I thank you, TiEcon Kolkata, for having me here as well. My perspective on post-heroic leadership, or my perspective on leadership in general, as a manager or as an entrepreneur, we all think that the whole weight of the world is on us, right? I mean, it's almost like we are Atlas, and we have the whole weight of the world on top of us. And we always say that it's a very lonely position to be there. We are all alone. But post-heroic actually dispels all of that. We don't need to be alone. We don't need to have the whole weight of the whole organization, of everybody on top of us. Before I took over Rollick, I actually worked for an organization outside the country, which was in retail. And over there, I was groomed into a post-heroic position. So, I mean, I was managing a team. I was responsible for $100 million worth of business. I had a very set team over there. And when I came into Rollick Ice Cream 8 years ago, it was a loss-making brand. We were losing money every single year. The team was scared of the brand being shut down or being sold to somebody else. So I saw very different perspectives of leadership over there. From my time in Dubai, when I was completely, as a participant in the team, whereas when I came here, it was like a fire in the house. I had to take charge. there was no room for consulting at that point in time. There was room for, okay, what do we have to do? How do we save the organization? How do we ensure we survive this? And post that, it went about building the whole team over there. As Suchin mentioned, if you have a team, which are primarily monkeys, then you pretty much have to do all the archery yourself. But it takes a bit of time then to build a team in which you can start delegating, or actually not even delegating, participating, so that they can do, as a team, we can do a lot more than what we had originally envisaged.
So, Gaurav, very interesting. I mean, you were talking about your time in Dubai, and when you came here to Calcutta, it was all firefighting for you, and that's how it all started. And what I have also seen is that, when you're in firefighting mode, it's more of a leader-follower relationship with your subordinates, and you tell them what to do so that you have the thing under control at time. But finally, I think it needs to transition to a leader-leader relationship within the organization. So because, that leader follower is not something that I think in this time when businesses depend more on intellect than on human skills and on manpower and on physically doing work. So there's a lot of room for the leader relationship rather than a leader follower relationship around the organization. So tell me how the leader relationship was for you while you were working in Dubai with a company, and now when you are heading a company. So, I mean, if you can throw some light on that. Yes.
So in Dubai, I was with the same organization for many, many years, and I'd grown up in the organization. So I kept getting, incrementally more responsibility as I moved up the ladder over there. However, the entrepreneur at that time, I mean, he was very clear in terms of getting the right people on the team and letting them manage the show. So I was given broadly a lot of freedom in what I had to do or what I wanted to do with the team. And there were checks and balances so that I did not burn the house down, even though I tried, I think. But, we all had checks and balances, but we were given the responsibility of moving ahead. So that was a very leader responsibility. I built my own team. I gave them the responsibility, and essentially I gave them the opportunity to help me, because unless I had them on the team, I would not have been able to progress as fast as I would have in the organization. Coming back to my time in India, when I first came over, I mean, for me, India was a different country because I'd spent 14 years out of the country. Again, my vanvas was outside the country. I did that, came back, and it was a new country for me, a different language altogether. I did not speak any Bengali back then. And I had to get used to the whole system, and we were in a loss-making organization. So at that point, I took charge. I actually went through the leader-follower thing. I called all the shots, and I had to basically spend a lot of sleepless nights doing that. But fast forward 5 years, when COVID hit us, it was a very similar situation. It hit, COVID came in at the beginning of March. It was the peak summer. Our inventories were at the highest, and if COVID was not enough, we had Amphan hitting us as well, in which there was a power outage for about 15 days in my factory, and we were sitting crores worth of stock inside. And the difference between the two situations was actually quite good, because in the first situation, I was like directing all the moves, whereas in the second situation, my team was directing all the moves. So they came up with a slogan. We had a whole video that was circulated to keep us motivating. Salary cuts were proposed by the team. We took on salary cuts. We had to let go of a few people, but all of these were the team's idea in which we progressed. So it has been a significant journey in these 5 years, like right from a heroic leadership to a post-heroic leadership for me.
So what intrinsically is coming out of what Gaurav and Suchin are telling us, that you need a good team, you need to empower the team needs to be smarter than you, they need to take on more responsibility, they need to take on more decision-making powers. Interesting, I think all of us sitting in the audience must be practicing this at some level or the other. Tell us, I mean, there's a question that comes to mind, that often you've given control to the team, and that does not ensure success. There are times when there is failure. There are times when it's going to cost the company. It may cost money, it may cost reputation. What do you do when you have that strong urge to take the control back at that time? How do you navigate through that situation and say, no, I'm on this journey and I'm going to let them make the mistakes. I'm going to minimize the harm, and I'm going to make sure that they get more and more empowered. I mean, I'd like both of you to share your views on this, please.
See, mistakes will be part of anyone's journey. I've made like 1,000,000 mistakes till today. The only thing that's meant to secure yourself is teach the team around you very clearly what a one-way door looks like versus what a two-way door looks like. Right? A one-way door is you walk into that door, there's no coming back. So if you made a mistake there, it's going to become very costly. But a two-way door is you can actually keep walking in and out again and again, keep iterating on it, keep seeing that if I put my right foot first, then what happens? If I put my left foot first, what happens? If I jump through that door, what happens? I can come back and try again. This difference to know what an expensive mistake is versus what an inexpensive mistake is what I think leaders should be very good at. And they should be talking to their team all the time about it, because we've made many expensive mistakes, but we can't let multiple people keep doing that, right? Then what's the use of our experience? Our experience is mostly to talk about those failures instead of successes. Successes, as we all entrepreneurs know, it's 90% luck. It's 10% what we are trying to do, and 90% suddenly it clicks at the right time with the right person at the right place, and then you're like, oh, this is very good. But we know exactly what wrong decisions look like. And this is what we need to keep talking to our team, that, you know, if you feel this is going to be irreversible, then let's come and talk. Let's sit around together. Let 4 or 5 minds put together our brains on it and then try and do this experiment. But if you feel you can come back, if it fails, you can come back quickly to ground zero, spend this much money or this much time, and then we can start again, please do it without even asking me. So encouraging experimental behavior, but making sure those experiments are not entailing burning the hospital down, is something that we should all try and put our trust into it. See, trust is the biggest factor. The team should understand that failures are a part of life, and it's not like if we make a failure, the seniors will look down upon us or nothing. Rather, they will be celebrated that, oh, this guy did so well, he tried this experiment, and these are the learnings we got out of it, so we'll never do it again. So if that is the atmosphere in the organization, people will make experiments and people will fail frequently and people will learn, and without costing you too much.
Thanks, Suchin. I mean, you really, I can see how you imbibe the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and the way you give all the credit for success to luck. I mean, very, very nice perspective came out there. Gaurav, if you could share your views also on how the urge to take control back is how you navigate through it. Wonderful what he said about a one-way road and a two-way road, and constantly the team should be knowing what is permissible and what is something, beyond a point where they need to probably change course, think again, things like that. So, I mean.
So I have a slightly different perspective on this one. I mean, the first is when it comes to mistakes, I mean, this is something we do. We actually celebrate our mistakes publicly. I tend to make a lot of them as well in the organization. And every month in our monthly town hall, we actively talk about the mistakes that each one of us have made, any major mistakes, and we celebrate that. Because unless Harsh Mariwala once said, in any journey, you either succeed or you learn. There is no failure in between. So, as long as we've got learning out of it, we don't really classify it as a mistake per se. And I also learn a lot from my 14-month-old daughter who's trying to walk at this point in time. And, I constantly see her falling, right? I mean, she tries to walk, she wobbles, she falls. And I treat the same, I find a lot of analogy between that and the organization, because people in, my team members, they try and do things for the first time. They may not be successful, but I feel my role then is to reflect with them on what went right, what went wrong, and what would they really do differently. And as long as I'm part of the journey of helping them reflect there, I am sure that they would be succeeding the next time around. But that said, yes, I mean, would there be mistakes which can burn the company down? Yes, there are. But we have various checks and balances as an organization, enough controls that don't allow us to do that.
I think my two key takeaways here are that empower your people, tell them not to be afraid to make mistakes, keep your checks and balances in place so that you know that it doesn't cost you too much. And constant feedback is another thread that is coming out of this conversation, that it is very important to talk within your teams and to keep discussing and to keep analyzing the mistakes that have been made and what can be done to not repeat them. So these are some threads that are coming out. So post-heroic leadership is something that is impossible to cover in 30 minutes, 30 hours, 30 days, or even 30 years. It's a lifelong journey. We had some time over here, and it's interesting to see a lot of insight that's coming from experience. If anybody in the audience has a particular question or is going through a certain situation, we'd be very happy to have the panelists answer that, please. Yes, please, the mic somewhere here in front. Kamna ji, you can just stand up and ask. I mean, I'll repeat what you say.
So my question actually comes out of what Dr. Suchin said, but I want Gaurav's view as well because he's from manufacturing like I am. So, you said that, whilst you empower your team and become post-heroic in the sense that you take a step back and let people be, you also need to create that print that you're in control, that, not actually saying you're dispensable, but I know my act and I'm in control. But in our situation, and particularly where I come from, where a lot of youngsters are coming on the bandwagon and we are in a disruption where the world is suddenly in the last 5 years completely changed, there are lots of spaces where we don't know. I mean, they are unknown domains and they're dark for us. So you do have this set of people who know way more, which in any case is okay, but you're not in control. So how does one deal with that? How does one express one's leadership or control in a situation where everybody knows that you don't know? So how does one manage that little tweak? It's very gray. So I really want both your opinions there.
I actually have no qualms in saying I don't know. And there would be many, many situations in which there are various specialists on the team who know far more than I do on, like say, when it comes to quality, the technical aspects of ice cream, choosing flavors. And now, we use social media a lot for our communication. I don't know much. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have an Instagram account. So people know a lot more than I do in the organization. What I tend to do is, ultimately the business fundamentals don't change, right? What is the cost per reach? How much are we spending? What is our awareness levels getting to? I always bring it back to the fundamentals that I can understand. And I may not be in control of what they're doing with their marketing budgets or what they're doing with the technical aspects of the product that we are doing. I can see the consumer aspects of it. My training has been in sales and marketing, and that's how I view the organization and the lens. So whatever your vocation is, if you can understand in your context, I don't think it's important to be in control personally.
I think, Kamna ji, we all face this imposter syndrome on a daily basis, right? I'm facing it right now. Sitting here talking to all of you, such brilliant people, I don't think I'm qualified to do that. But all we need to do is not be afraid not be afraid to show that we're ignorant. All right, we don't know this, but let's discuss it. I want to learn more. I ask my team all the time, teach me this, all right, just let me know, let me write down, and then I'll research and come back to you tomorrow on my thoughts. I don't have my thoughts right now. So let's not be afraid to show our ignorance, because at the end of it all, what choice do they have, right? We are stuck with them. They can't fire us for all they know, right? So it's good that we have quite a stable job there. So let's show our ignorance. It's fine. I don't know this. Let me learn. But not knowing some technical facts or hard data or some techniques doesn't mean we are not in control, right? It doesn't mean that at all. Finally, at the end of the day, you'll have to make that decision on whether we need to go ahead with that or not. You'll do your own thinking, you'll do your own research, and you can take time, you can come back 2 days, 3 days later and say, okay, let's discuss it again. I have some grasp of it now, which I didn't have 3 days ago.
Can I?
Time is up, TiEcon. Do we have time for some more questions? Or one more, please?
One more.
Maybe you can all share your questions and then we can take it offline after that. So, please go ahead.
Can I? My question to Suchin. My name is Anil Kariwala, and my question to you did a great analogy, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So, which I understand that post-heroic leadership is not getting into the thick of thin things, but to be grounded, to know the nuts and bolts of things. Like in your case, like do you see patients still? What are the things you would still have a hands-on approach to, and yet maintain a post-heroic leadership?
I think it's about when to be on the dance floor and when to be on the balcony, right? If you are on the dance floor all the time, you'll get tired very quickly. And then when the real end dancing comes up, when everybody's having the most fun, you're just sitting behind and say, no, I've had enough. So you need to go on the balcony quite a lot to see the big picture, to see where all the dancers are moving, what is doing what. But when you are in the thick of the dance floor, obviously you concentrate on your own performance, on the performance of 3-4 people who are really close to you, and you can't really see what's happening outside. In the morning, as we were discussing, if you are not in the thick of things sometimes, right, being a post-heroic leader doesn't mean that you completely go off the battleground, right? Krishna was very much in the battleground. He was the Sarthi all the time, right? So it doesn't mean that you completely go away, and this is what we were discussing in the morning. If you completely go 30,000 feet above, then what happens is what I like to call it the watermelon effect, right? So if you see a watermelon from far away, it's all green everywhere. It's very nice, lush green. It's only when you dive in do you see all the red blood that is really inside. It's all bloody. The organization is going mad, and bahar se aap dekh rahe ho ki nahi, sab hara hara, sab acha hai. So you need to go into the watermelon quite a lot to see where the blood loss is happening, what is going wrong. So keep going up and down. I think that's very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Having delved into the inspiring world of post-heroic leadership, let's extend our thanks to Dr. Suchin Bajaj and Mr. Gaurav Khemani, guided by Mr. Abhishek Modi. I invite our President, Mr. Bimal Patwari, along with Mr. Vijay Agarwal, Managing Director, Bajaj Refineries Limited, to kindly join us on stage and present a token of appreciation. Thank you.